Hello guys, this is Shovi. Today we are going to take a look into how to deploy a Django application into AWS. So we won't be going through the usual beanstalk way. We will simply spin up an EC2 instance. Our application is a very simple application. It greets you with your name and actually it's hosted in GitHub that I'll give the link in the description. So otherwise, if you have, of course, you might be having an application for yourself. So that is also fine. But the thing is that our application that I'm trying to deploy doesn't have any database connectivity. Maybe the database connectivity part, we can do it in another video. So let's begin. So I hope you have an AWS account. I happen to have one. So otherwise, just create one. It's free and you get 1 year free tier service. So I have an account. So let me sign into my account. Okay. So let's spin up a server and initialize the server and just upgrade the operating system. So we are going to use an Ubuntu server, which is available in the free tier, and I'm a huge fan of Ubuntu as well. So let's click on this launch instance button, and then there is Ubuntu 18.4 LTS. So we'll be using this image, and then click on, because general purpose T2 micro, which is free tier eligible as well. Click on review and launch, and then click on launch, and then you need to create a key pair or choose an existing one. So in a key pair, there will be a public key and a private key. Public key will be given to you and the private key will be kept in the server that we are going to create. Once you create a key pair, make sure you keep it very safe. So without this key pair, you won't be able to log into your instance again. So once you have this key, just save it somewhere safe. So let me create a new key pair. So it will be like test key pair Django, and then click on download key pair. So this will get downloaded into your downloads folder, so you can see here. So let it be there. Meanwhile, click on launch instance. Now the instance initialization may take up some time. Meanwhile, let us test our demo Django application. So head on to github.com/shobhyexplains, and then there is a small repository, AWS demo. Maybe if you want, you can clone it in your system, or I have already a repository in the local. Let me open it for you. So this is the application. So it's a test project, and as you can see inside the URLs, there is a path hello name, and the hello path takes a parameter called name and it greets you with your name. Just let me walk through the code ways. Once you go to this path, the handling function is inside view. It's a function hello, and it just returns an HTTP response hello name. So just let me show you a demo. So let me activate my virtual environment where the Django and all other stuffs are installed. I hope you know how it. If you don't, just go through my how to install Django videos. So let me activate this source bin. So this is my virtual environment. Now the environment has been activated. So let me run the project. So Python 3 managed by run server. Now it's running. If I go to this URL, it first shows you F404 with the debug information, and then if I go to hello/Shobi, it will tell you hello Shobi. So like whatever parameter, whatever string that you pass, it will greet you. So this is our simple application. Of course, the application that you have built is quite big, maybe quite big, but for the demo purpose, we should be fine. And before deployment, you have to go through a set of steps before deployment, such as disabling the debug mode and going through necessary security steps. And for that purpose, Django provides us a checklist. So at least once you have to go through it before you deploy your actual application. But for this demo purpose, we will be simply disabling the debug mode. So let me show you how to do the check. It is like Python 3 manage.py check --deploy. Now it will tell you what are the necessary steps. So it says you have not set a value for secure HSTS, your secure content type, and you should enable that, you should enable this. If you are before deploying your actual application, you should be going through this. Maybe I'll be doing a video on how to go through each of these steps, maybe in a future video, but as of now we will be simply focusing on deploying this project. So let me disable the debug mode, go to settings.py, set the debug mode equals to false. Okay, and let me run the server again. You must set settings.allow host if debug is false. Let me put star, so that you know what allowed host, what this parameter says is you should allow traffic from all the hosts. But before putting this thing in AWS, we should be taking the domain name or the IP address from the AWS instance that we have created, and we should put it here. But as of now, I'll just put star so that all the hosts are allowed. Sorry, there should be it should be a string actually, or a character. So let me put double quotes against it. Let me run the server again. Okay, now the server is running. So if I go to the root URL, I should be getting a proper not found response rather than a page with all the debug information. So we are actually ready to deploy our application. So let's head back to EC2 console. So I have two running instances. So actually one of them is my previous instance. So as you can see, the third one, actually one is terminated, and let's forget about that actually. So we have a new instance with the test keeper Django that we have just created, and this one, so as you can see here, it's a public DNS. So this is actually our domain name for now. You can set up a domain name for yourself. So like, of course you will be having a domain name for you to use. Actually you can configure that from the Route 53 service that is provided with AWS. But as of now, we are not interested in that. Rather, we will use this domain name for the sake of this video. So let's go here now. But we are not seeing anything because there is nothing in the server. Okay, let us try to connect to this server using our key pair. And this is our domain name. So let me name the server Django test. So this is our server, and click on this tick mark. Done. So let us try to log in to this server, and as I said before, this IPv for public IP. So this is the IP address, which means the host which we should be putting here inside the allowed hosts. But when you put star, any IP address is allowed, but you will have to put the actual IP address in this case before deploying. Okay. So let me push this thing to the repository for the sake of this video. Okay, now let's try to connect to this server. So right click on this instance and click on connect. So you can see, you should be able to see an example here. So this is how you connect, and this test keeper Django.pem. This is the file that we have just downloaded here, as you can see, and we should be in the same folder where this PEM file exists. Okay. So I happen to use a Mac, but in case if you are using Windows, you should be fine with software like Putty, or you can use a software like Git Bash or something, so that you can connect to the server using SSH, or Linux. Like even if you use Linux also fine. Now open the terminal and let's navigate to the folder where I have downloaded the PEM file, which is the downloads folder. But in this case, I have moved my PEM file to a separate folder, which is called AWS demo. So let's go to the folder where you have downloaded the PEM file. So as of now, it's in the AWS demo folder that I have just created. So when you see ls, when you use ls, you should be able to see the file testkeeper Django.pem. And now we need to make sure the file is read-only mode. So use chmod 400 testkeeper Django.pem. Now the key is on read-only mode. Fine. Now let's copy this example from here and then paste it here. And then it asks like, are you sure to continue? Of course, yes. And now you should be connected to the server. If you are connected, you should be able to see a prompt like this. So let me zoom it a bit so you can see it properly. Now I'm inside the server, which is a freshly installed Ubuntu 18.4 server. So let's upgrade everything. Use sudo apt-get update. Then use sudo apt-get upgrade to upgrade all the packages. Now it asks whether it should upgrade the grub or not. So I use the installed package maintainers version. Now the upgrade process is finished. Now we need a set of softwares to serve the Django application from the AWS server that we have just created. So in a local environment, Django uses Python's built-in HTTP server to serve the application. But in case of a production deployment, so we need to use an actual server, something like Apache or Nginx, to serve our application. Other than that, we need a software called a WSGI interface.
What is a WSGI interface? So the WSGI interface acts as a link between the actual Nginx server and our Python application by using a mechanism called Unix sockets. So what is a Unix socket? A Unix socket is a mechanism to achieve inter-process communication in between two applications. In our case, our application, our Django application and the actual Nginx server.
So that is how it works. So we need two softwares. One is Nginx and other one is a WSGI interface. So we are going to use a WSGI interface called Gunicon, which is the most prominently used Python's HTTP WSGI interface. Now we need Python, and of course Python by default will be installed in an Ubuntu server. So let's check Python -v. Python 2 is not installed. Let's try Python 3 -v. Python 3 -- version. Now we have a Python 3.6 installed. That is perfectly fine for us. And now we need to install the Python's virtual environment, which is venv. So let's install that first. So let's begin from our requirements for the application. Try Python 3 -m venv. So which means we use the venv extension of Python to create an environment called env. Okay. Now it will say that okay, we need to use Python 3. Sorry. Now it will say that Python 3 venv is not installed. We need to install it. Okay. So let's do that. Sudo apt-get install Python 3 -venv. We need a T missing here. Now yes. Now Python's venv module is installed. Using that one, we need to create a virtual environment. We use the same command that we have used earlier. Python 3 -m venv. Now an environment is created. If you use an ls, you should be able to see a new folder called a new directory called env. Now let's use that as our environment using the command source env bin activate. Now the prompt should be changed something like this, and env is prefixed here. Okay. Now let's install Django into our environment using pip3 install Django. Now Django is successfully installed. Now let us pull in our repository, code repository. Click on clone and using HTTPS and then git clone and the URL. Now it should be here in the home directory. If you use ls, you should be able to see the new directory. So let's get into AWS done. ls, you should be able to see the file, test project and everything. Fine. Let's install Nginx and Gunicon. And Gunicon is a pip module. So let's install that. Pip3 install Gunicon. Now Gunicon has been installed. So make sure it's not sudo apt-get. It's not coming from the Ubuntu's repository, rather it's coming from the PyPy. So using pip3 install Gunicon, which will install Gunicon module inside the newly created virtual environment. Now let's install Nginx from the Ubuntu's repositories. Sudo apt get install -y nginx. Now Nginx has been installed. As a matter of fact, if you visit the domain that came from the EC2 console, which is actually this one, which we have copied here, you should be able to see. But the thing is that we have installed Nginx, and let's start Nginx. So use sudo nginx. The address already is in use, means the Nginx has been started. But even if you visit it, it just says connecting, as you can see here, and it's like there is nothing coming. Why? And this is something to do with the EC2 itself. And we should, the main thing is that we should assign the server to a security group, and that in that security group there will be rules saying that only this kind of traffic should be allowed to this instance. So by default SSH traffic is allowed, so that is why we are able to log in to this server. But the HTTP traffic or the TCP traffic is not allowed yet. Now we need to allow that. I hope you get the point. Now go to right click on it, go to networking, change security group, and I have a lot of interfaces here. So the assigned security group is Launch Wizard 4. Okay, Launch Wizard 4, and then there is a default Launch Wizard 1. So these are the security groups that has been created by me previously. The Launch Wizard 4 is the one which is associated with the newly created instance. Okay, now let us configure that security group. So let us click on the security groups on the left side here in the network and security group. So in the security groups, as you can see, there is a lot of security groups. We are interested in the Launch Wizard 4, which is recently created. Once you select that one, so there is inbound and outbound, and outbound traffic is allowed everywhere, but inbound traffic is only allowed for SSH. We need to change that. So click on edit, then add rule, click on HTTP, which is on the TCP, which is on the 80 port, and from the source, and select anywhere, so that the instance is accessible from anywhere in the world. Click on save. Now if you refresh this page, you should be able to see the output. It says welcome to Nginx. That means our Nginx installation is successful. Now we need to connect the Gunicon, which is the WSGI interface, and the Nginx. Let's try to configure Gunicon first. Now we are inside the AWS demo folder. So let's see what's inside this. Seems like while we are explaining the things in the EC2, actually the terminal got frozen. So this is a security measure from AWS. So don't worry, you can actually configure this from AWS, but we'll simply close the tab and we'll create a new tab from here. So let me connect back to the AWS instance again. So cd AWS demo SSH. Let me zoom it up back. Let me reactivate my virtual environment. Source v, then activate. Yep, now the env has been activated. Now let's go to our AWS demo. Now you can see a test project, and let's see what's inside test project. So as you can see, there is a wsgi.py file. So via that wsgi.py file, Gunicon can access our application and tell Django to process the request came from the Nginx, right? So that now we need to tell Gunicon to use that wsgi.py file in order to serve the Django application rather than the Python's built-in HTTP server, right? So use the command Gunicon. So we are in the AWS demo and the wsgi.py is inside the test project. Okay. So just make sure instead of test project, make sure the name that you use is your project's name. So Gunicon --bind, or you can use -b for short, but still 0.0.0 port number 8000, because port number 80 is being used by our Nginx, which has been already installed. So at this point of time, we'll use 8000 to demo how this works. Okay, and use test project dot WSGI WSGI colon application. So there is no space involved. It just came to new line because there was no space, right? So now it's done. Now it says booting worker with process ID. Now if you visit the same domain with the port number 80, you should be able to see our application 8000. As you can see, still we are not able to access the site because it's, as you can see, it's still running. You know why? It's because the security group configuration. Let's get back to the security group configuration. As you can see, the inbound traffics are only allowed on the 80 port, not on the 8000 port. So let's add that as well. Click on the inbound, edit, click on add rule, click custom TCP and allow port number 8000. You save and then go to 8000 again. You should be able to see a not found, and if you visit the hello path, you should be able to find your ratings. What if you shut down this system or like close the terminal? It stops working. So that's where software called supervisor comes in. So supervisor makes sure your application runs in the background always, and whenever a server is restarted, whenever a server is shut down and restarted, or some process goes wrong, something went wrong. So in all those cases, supervisor will make sure your application is always up and running. That is the Gunicon. So supervisor will make sure Gunicon is always running in the background, right? So let's configure supervisor to do that. Before that, we need to install supervisor. So let's stop this using Ctrl+C and install supervisor. Sudo apt-get install -y supervisor. Now supervisor is installed. Now we need to create a configuration so that the supervisor can read from that configuration and appropriately restart or start the application, or like it will tell you where to log the errors and everything. So that configurations and all will be living inside a directory called etc. So let's go to the cd/etc supervisor conf.d. So if you ls, you cannot see anything because there is nothing. So let's create a new configuration file using the command touch gunicon.conf conf. Now it says permission denied, so use sudo. Now new file has been created. Now let's edit that. Sudo nano gunicon.conf. Right, now the file is empty. Let's add a line, program Gunicon. So this says what is our program. We need to run the program called Gunicon. And where is the program? AWS demo. So this is our directory, which means our project directory, right? Now we need the next line, which is command. Now command says this is the command we need to run. So we need to run Gunicon command. So where is Gunicon? Which is inside the home ubuntu env bin Gunicon, /Gunicon. So this is where our application lives in, right? Now we need to tell how many workers we need. So workers means how many Gunicon workers that you need to serve this application. So at this point I'll use 3, then use bind. Now previously we were binding to a port which is 8000, but now we will be binding to a Unix socket. So from that socket Gunicon can read and write, so that the Nginx, our actual server, which we haven't configured yet but we will be configuring soon, we will be using a socket to bind here. So use Unix /home ubuntu aws demo, which is our applications directory, and then app.sock. So app.sock, whatever .sock, that just need to make sure that you need a socket file, which is just app.sock. So this is where Gunicon read and write the input and other things. Response, it reads the request and write the response into this socket, right? Now we need to tell where our WSGI is, like we did in the command line example. So WSGI, so let me zoom this out a bit so that it fits in one line. So from this directory we have already told that we are inside this directory. So where is the WSGI? So which is inside the test project directory. Remember, test project directory dot visg colon application. So from where this test project came, it came after this directory. So Gunicon can understand where is the visg, which is inside, directly inside the test project, right? Now command line is finished. Now we need to add the third line, which is auto start. Auto start equals to true, which means whenever the system is started, start this program as well. Then add auto restart equals to true, which means whenever something goes wrong, let's auto restart this program. And then we need to specify where the error logs should be written. Usually the error logs are present inside the var/log directory. So let's add gunicon.err.log so that the errors are written here, and then std out log file, which means the standard output will be written here, /log/gunicon.out.log. Okay, there is a slash missing. So all of our logs will be present inside the var/log/gunicon/error and out, and then add a group is guni and programs Gunicon. So from this line we have said that we are having a group called Guni, and inside that there is a program called Gunicon. So from this Gunicon, it understands that this is the configuration that we need to run. Okay, now let us save this configuration and let supervisor, the software that we have installed right now, read this file. It will let us know whether the configuration is correct or not. Use Ctrl O to write and then Ctrl X to exit. Fine. Now let's tell supervisor to read the gunicon.conf file. So supervisor ctl. So this is the command, supervisor ctl reread. Now it says permission denied. Okay, let's use sudo. This directory is not there yet, so let's create that. Sudo mkdir /var/log/gunicon. Right, now that is run. Let's supervisor ctl reread our configuration again. Now it says Guni is available. Okay, now let us tell supervisor to start the Gunicon in the background. Now let us tell supervisor to start all the programs. So sudo supervisor ctl update. Now it says added process group, and now let's see the status using sudo supervisor ctl status. Now it says Gunicon is running in with the process ID. Yes, now in the background Gunicon is running. So our next step is to configure Nginx to read from this socket file. Right? So let's head to the Nginx configurations. cd, go back to home directory, and then let's head to Nginx configurations. So all the Nginx configurations are living inside the directory called sites available and sites enabled. So those files are present inside /etc/nginx/sites available. Right? Now if you do an ls, you can see a default file. So cat default. So this is a sample configuration file. I was just showing you that. So right, let's create a new file for our demo application. So it will be like sudo touch django.conf. So this is our new file. So sudo nano django.conf. So let me paste some code here. So the pasted code is like this, just 5 or 6 lines. So there is a server array. So inside that inside that there is a configuration which says listen 80, which means we should listen on port 80, which is a default HTTP port. And then another one is server name, which is the domain name or the IP address, which we can get from the EC2 console here. Let's go to EC2 dashboard instances, and which is here. As you can see, Django test, it is here. This is the domain, or you can use the IP. Both are same. Right? Let's open the terminal back and make sure you have a semicolon there. And then there is the next one, which is location root. So which says when somebody visits a root, we should follow this configuration, and it says use proxy params. and then proxy pass. So this configuration is used to tell from where we need to read and write the request and responses appropriately. So where is our sock file, which is inside the Unix, which is inside the home Ubuntu OWS demo and app.sock, which we have configured in the Gunicon file, remember. So let's use Ctrl O to write the file django.conf again, and then use Ctrl X to exit. Let us test this configuration using nginx -t. Now it says permission denied. So let's use sudo nginx -t. Now it says nginx configuration syntax is successful, nginx conf test is successful, but this is not reading our new file. So let's enable this site using ln -s django.conf to /etc/nginx/sites enabled. It says hard link not allowed, use just ln, and it says permission denied, use sudo. So sudo ln django.conf to the sites enabled. So we are now symlinking the Django conf, which is our test site that we have created right now, to sites enabled. Now that is done. Now let us run the test again. Sudo nginx -t. It says syntax is okay. Now let's restart nginx. Sudo service nginx restart. Now it's been restarted. If we visit the domain, we should be able to see the 404, which is the home page, and if we visit the hello path, we should be able to see it properly. Yes, right guys. Now if you visit hello Harry, we should be able to see hello Harry. Now our application, the simple application that we have built in Django, is live in the AWS. So this same process we can repeat for DigitalOcean or any server that you can have, and there is a lot of things to do yet, like database configuration, static files configuration, and many other things as well. But we will be covering everything soon in another video, small videos. Actually the video has been very long, I know, but there is a process. I tried to explain almost everything in detail. So yeah, this is it guys. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been a help to you, and subscribe to my channel. That is important thing. You can subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting these kind of tutorials and all those things. So let's see you in another video. Thank you.